Now I know what you're all thinking. Didn't you already write a list like this on NetDwellers? And yeah, I did, but I want to make a video version as well as changing one or two things, and explaining into greater detail of why I made these choices. Now I've been called easily pleased in the past, and yeah, I agree. The following 5 games will lead critics into the theory of my gaming life, and why I tend to enjoy playing certain games despite the mix on negative reception. Except Sonic 06, I can stock it elsewhere. Also, I'll be listening to games and how much negative feedback they received, as well as how much I enjoy playing them. So to bring this introduction to an end, here are the top 5 games I like, but everyone else hates. Number 5. Prince of Persia. This game is a lot of bashing because it completely diverts from the epic Sands of Time trilogy, but the change of setting, visual style and combat doesn't mean it's a bad game. Okay, the combat is pretty much a guessing game on what seems of buttons to press, but that's a challenge in itself. The game was much easier thanks to the fact you can't actually die. Some might say it's a bad thing in games, but it works well with the parkour moments, allowing the gameplay to flow back into it. To me, the cel-shaded style made the world of Prince of Persia an amazing place to look at, and the characters are well rounded enough to enjoy being with. All of this made me forgive the game's flaws and kept me playing. Number 4. Luigis Mansion. It's a launch title, so what? It's Luigi's first game. Second if you count the educational game crap. Though the difficulty is a bit steep, and the controls can take a while to get used to, it had a good atmosphere that you can rarely find in a Mario game. Luigi's Mansion has a unique charm that hasn't been matched. Exploring a haunted mansion, capturing ghost army with a flashlight and a hoover, and Luigi's only human contact is a weird scientist called E-Gad. Name one other game like it. Apart from its upcoming sequel. It's not a game I would repeatedly play, but it is worth playing, especially on Halloween. Number 3. Star Fox Adventures / Star Fox Assault. Both of these Star Fox games have received a major bashing from the fans. Even though Adventures is a subpar Zelda clone, it's still enjoyable despite being a cancelled N64 title wearing a Star Fox name. Even though the combat is hard to fail at and tricky will get on your nerves, they're not that big a deal breaker, you can still enjoy the story and puzzle solving. Whereas Adventures is an adventure game like Zelda, Star Fox Assault has more of an arcade feel to it with 10 straightforward missions and high scores. Like with Lilac Wars, or Star Fox 64 depending on where you live, Assault has a decent multiplayer, but like with the missions, there seems a lot more focus on the on-foot gameplay than the R-Wing. But once you get adjusted to your preferred control method, the game becomes quite fun, as well as a decent challenge. Number 2. Sonic Unleashed. I hardly hear anything good about Unleashed, aside from the daytime stages, which some have said are a bit too fast. But most of the criticism revolves around the Werehog stages and how they're slow, padded, and not Sonic. I have to say I actually quite enjoy these stages. Apart from Empire City, I hated that one. But for all the bad gimmicks Sega's brought to the series, this one actually worked. The game is broken up enough to keep both day and nighttime stages fresh long enough to reach Eggman Land, whereupon I threw the controller at the wall. Despite that, there are plenty of side missions in the hub worlds as well as DLC. The graphics are smooth, the music is beautiful, and for what Sonic 06 failed at, Unleashed made up for it. And the number 1 game that I like that everyone else hates is Final Fantasy X. Yes, I like Final Fantasy X, shoot me. This and Final Fantasy 13 are probably the most hated Final Fantasy games, but to be honest, I think Final Fantasy 13 is worse. Now, I rarely play JRPGs, but it is the first I've ever actually liked and probably the only one I'll ever like. The story was interesting enough to me to keep playing, the turn-based battle system was simple enough for new players such as myself, plus the sphere grid was a nice change to the worn down level up gimmick, though using it would have been less confusing. The main criticism I hear all the time is the voice acting and the main protagonist Tidus, or Tidus how you pronounce it. Being a Sonic fan, which also gets a bad rep for its voice acting, I can say truthfully that I don't give a shit about bad voice acting unless it's a really bad performance. We're talking House of the Dead, but meant to be taken seriously, much like the movie in that respect. As for Tidus, I don't hate him. Aside from that one scene with Yuna that fans will shut the fuck up about, I don't find him annoying in the slightest. Bottom line, Final Fantasy X is my number 1 game that I like that everyone else hates. And those were my top 5 games that I like but everyone else hates. Obviously these are my own personal choices, and if you disagree, that's your problem. I'm Sonicguru, and I hope no Final Fantasy fans decide to flame me for liking Final Fantasy X.